Welcome to Eviliv3, the live media commentary of the show that answers the question, when did cats become vampires? Subscribe to the channel because today we are reviewing The Buffalo Hunter, Hunter by Stephen Graham Jones. Joining me as always is my fine feathered friend, Cameron. How you doing, man?
I'm doing fantastic.
You're actually not feathered at all. It's just a saying.
Yeah, it's a totally not racist saying. It's cool. I say it all the time. You're like, oh, what kind of Indian are you? Dot or feather? And it's like, yeah, feather. I like curry,
I did
though.
not intend that. Wow. Is that where the saying
that's
comes
where
from?
I took it. What?
The fine feathered friend? Is that where?
Oh, I have no fucking clue.
Okay.
I just...
I'm like, holy shit, I'm a racist. And I didn't even know.
No, I just thought I was being funny. So
okay. Yeah, definitely.
We're good.
All right. So initial thoughts. You recommended this to me. So what are your initial thoughts?
I did. So initially, it was good. I was a little confused with some of the bits because I've only listened to it. I haven't actually read it. Tend to comprehend more complex stories when I'm reading it, obviously. Yeah. But the second listen was it made a lot more sense, and I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Like, it made me want to read other books of the era that are real.
Oh, right. Yeah, the historical stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, my initial thoughts were this is really, really derivative is the word I would use. This is a story we have heard, not the exact story. This is the type of a story that we've heard over and over and over again since Bram Stoker's Dracula. And so that's why I was a little bit bothered. I don't know if bothered is the right word. I was a little disappointed because there's parts of this book that are amazing and really fucking great. And then there's other parts I'm like, why are we doing the interview with the vampire thing? Like, this is Bram Stoker and Anne Rice had a Clive Barker baby, and that's what this book is. And all elements individually are awesome.
Yeah, not as much sex. Definitely should have had more sex, really raunchy sex to get the Clive Barker in there.
That's true.
But yeah, no, that's actually a very, very good description of this.
So this was written by Stephen Graham Jones again. Simon & Schuster and Saga Press published it on the March 18th of this year. I had no idea this was so recent.
Yep, brand fucking new.
Very, very cool. I mean, let's just sort of talk about this because this is like a Russian doll of stories.
Very much so. Like, I feel like it's all pretty obvious what's going to happen. Like, there's nothing that's surprising. And like you said, there's nothing new in this. It's just, a different coat on, the vampire tale. So right out the gate, that's, spoiler, it's a vampire book. But yeah, I mean, it starts off with Etsy Bocarn coming across, well, I guess she didn't come across it, but somebody else came across some journals from her great-great-grandfather. Right? It is great-great-grandfather.
Yeah. And she was like trying to figure out a way to do her, like, it's not dissertation, but she had to do this project for her degree. And she thought, well, if this is good enough, I'll just use this as my project.
Yeah.
And
yeah, this was her trying to get her tenure at the college that she's at.
Yeah, that's it. What's really cool about this, I thought, was the audio acting.
Yeah.
It was a little confusing, the jumping at first, but once it happened, that first time you're like, oh, okay, now I get where I am sort of in time and in the story and everything. But I found myself wanting to get to live in Goodstab's story. I was getting frustrated when we got out. Ultimately, it makes sense why he built it this way because of the end. The last third of the story has a little bit of dragging in my opinion, but it has a nice poetic ending that is pretty cool. And it's got some really interesting twists on tropes on dealing with vampires that I never conceived of before. And even
there's a lot of different stuff, even though it's a very time-old story.
Yeah. And even the idea of it being like a vampire. Like, this is a different type of vampire. Like, and so when people sort of reduce it to the vampire, I think it's just because it's presented in that Bram Stoker letter writing way. And so you sort of just by default go there. But there are some, just the idea of that, the cat beast, almost like a werewolf almost, that turns him And then, of course, it has that sort of vampire trope of the consumption of blood, and then the how different types of blood affect you in different types of ways, and
That
different.
was the part that I loved.
Yeah, very, very cool stuff in it. And so that's why I just wanted to live in that area. I just wanted to experience more of that, because you did get this sort of twisted Louis and Lestat, sorry, back and forth and torture that I sort of enjoyed. But again, I'd already experienced that before. And so I don't know, like the whole time I was reflecting back on other stories reading this rather than just being immersed into this one. And that's why I was a little frustrated, I think, ultimately. But anyway, so Arthur Bucharn is the great-great-grandfather who was a priest who had come across the West and done some horrible things in his own right that he was trying to either atone for or forget due to how he was moving on about his life. But much like the last novel we reviewed of Jones's, it's like trauma catches up with you. Eventually, your actions, it's like throwing a pebble in a pond. The waves are coming right back at you. You know, it's going in all directions, but they're also coming toward you. And so it's going to catch up with your, whatever thing you did. And I kind of like that in his storytelling, because at least we know there's going to be some form of a catharsis.
Yeah. Well, I really like it with this one because of the fact that, unlike with the last one, The Only Good Indians, it's like you travel with Bucharn along the route of like, fuck, I know where this ends and I have to accept it type of thing. Whereas with the other one, it's like it just kind of fucking happens, like everybody dies. The only person who actually gets it is the daughter at the very end. So it's a little bit more, I guess, tense in that sense, because he knows the outcome, even though he doesn't, because I didn't see the outcome.
The final outcome? I did not see
Yeah.
that at all.
Yeah, did not see it. I mean, of course, the second listen, it's like, obviously, this is all leading up to this point, and it's so, that's what's going to happen. But yeah, I really appreciated that aspect of it.
Yeah. There's some genuinely surprising and shocking reveals in this novel that, if you want to be surprised for the first time read, I would highly recommend you read this. It wasn't my favorite novel, but it was a fun read. So I do recommend you check it out. So if you don't want to be spoiled, turn this off right now, because we are going to be talking about spoilery stuff here shortly. And I don't want to spoil some of those reveals, because they were shocking when they were revealed. Like just, I don't know about shocking, but surprising. I was just like, what? What? Really, really kind of cool stuff. I was also a little bit like, whenever I read like a sort of like a vampire story, or like there's this ancient entity that then turns this other thing into an evil entity, and then I'm always at the place, and maybe it's Anne Rice's fault, where I'm like, well, where's the original one? I want to go back to see how this lineage happened. I want to know where the first one came from and why it happened, and all, like, that's what I'm interested in. And we get to know like the first, and he did call it like a cat man, right?
Yeah, so that's the Blackfeet that came across the cat man. That's what they referred to him as, because that was about the greatest thing that they could think of, because he had sharp teeth, he was vicious, and clearly more animalistic than man. So that was like the easiest way for them to comprehend what he was.
Yeah. And I mean, maybe also because of the way these creatures work, is whatever you feed on, you take on those traits.
And
yeah, so
which I fucking love that aspect of it.
I mean, totally new way of seeing it. So you got to give the author credit there. At least it's new to me. I don't know.
Yeah, I haven't come across it before.
And you're like steeped in like Anne Rice stuff and horror in general. So, I mean, it's a very, very cool way of approaching this subject matter. So maybe he was just feeding off what he had to when he ran across the Blackfeet, and then they just sort of saw him in that form. But basically, like this creature, if you drink the blood of something, and they do like all the rules, like, it has to be alive blood, and once it starts dying, and like the blood pours out of your pores, like you literally like
if you sweat,
it.
if you sweat, if you cry, anything like that. If you get injured, like you bleed out that life force and you have to kind of regain your strength. The aspect of this style of vampire that I really loved was the fact that there's no control.
Mm.
Like once they start feeding, they cannot stop until the creature's dead. So like when Good Stab goes after a buffalo for the first time and his sides explode, like just
Yeah.
rip, and it just gushes out of him. It's like, man, that's gnarly. And he can't stop until it's gone.
So it's just like a fountain.
Hmm.
Like, in my head, I'm just seeing the shining elevator doors
Oh
opening,
yeah,
and it's the
yeah,
dude's
100%.
side, just like
Yeah.
gush. I thought
Well,
that was so cool.
yeah, the other part of this specific vampire lore that I thought was interesting, because it's not one that in just off the top of my head that I can think of in anything that I've read in the past like decade or so. Once they eat, like that's it. They're like, all right, I gotta take a fucking nap. Like basically, it's Thanksgiving every time they eat,
Yeah.
where they gotta like lay down and fuck off so that the blood can go through their system and rejuvenate their entire body.
And that's another part I liked about it too, because the rejuvenation, it actually heals. Like there's parts of this where they're like torn apart, like limbs are removed, and like
Hmm.
they're just like completely messed up, and they're attacked, and they get like holes in them from muskets, and like it gets to be like brutal. If you were a vampire, you'd be screwed, but in
Yeah.
this they actually regenerate, and they can actually like last a really, really long time. So I love the idea of the gorge and hibernate sort of process. And it also, if you really want to dive into the what ifs, maybe that's why, if we're sort of in this world, why most people never even knew about these things, because they're not out around every night, like a
Yeah.
regular vampire hunts every night. These things, they come out, and especially like the Louis-esque approach of Good Stab, of not really liking what he was, and doing his best to sort of get away. And that approach got a little bit tiresome fast, but I did always love his struggle with his humanity, and
Hmm.
how he always still wanted to check in on his people and make sure that they're okay. Um, there's just like this idea of, you are a monster clinging on to a life that has left you a long time ago,
Yeah.
even when all the years are passing in this guy's life. And regardless of all of that, and having to do the horrible things you have to do to exist and to heal and stuff, and sometimes you're not in control at all, he's still clinging on to that aspect of what it means to be human and not wholly
Hmm.
animal. And I think it's an interesting conversation to sort of touch on, because we are animals, but we're this sort of animal lifted, this sort of separate level of animal. I mean, we have self-awareness, and we
Hmm.
create art and beauty, and we can pontificate on random shit uh, of life itself. And as far as we understand, most other or all other animals don't do that. And so this beast that he's become, I don't know if it's so much as a bridge between humanity and the animal world, or if it's the next step up from humanity. Like, how do you see that fit?
I don't know. It's a hard one to kind of justify. It's like, would that be an evolution? Is that just a freak mutation? Like, I guess it's a matter of just like how you're looking at it. I
Mm,
really don't know. And the complexity of what, not just humanity, like he's trying to hold on to that period,
yeah.
because it is revealed that the more animals that you eat, you ultimately end up becoming those animals. That's really revealed at the end. But like it's more than just that. Like you take on all the characteristics of whatever you consume. So part of his problem isn't just wanting to hold on to humanity, it's also wanting to stay Blackfeet. Um, because he's eating white people, and guess what? Motherfucker's got a ginger beard and he's getting pale. Like he ends up being a white dude, and it confuses him and pisses him off to the point where he's having to take out like the weaker Blackfeet to try to get back to that, because he does not want to be a Pekuni.
Yeah. It's
But yeah,
so
it's hard.
fascinating.
It's hard to wrap my head around like what that could be,
Yeah.
like him, I guess.
Well, and the torture of it all too. Like, especially if you have care and concern for where you came from. I mean, the idea of like losing your sense of self while still being self-aware is terrifying.
Absolutely.
Those moments in dementia patients that have those moments of clarity and the terror that must flood their system. That's what he's living with on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's just a horrible thing. And so he doesn't, it's not like a vampire where he like thanks the person and he's like happy about it. He's struggling with his own self-identity the whole time. And then when he finally does meet up with this person or this thing that turned him, the dude just tortures his ass.
Yeah, like bad for what was like 4 fucking years.
Yeah.
Has him locked up under ice. Like, that is some brutal
shit. Crazy shit. And then like, I didn't understand the purpose, if there was one, and maybe it's because
of the torture.
One. Yeah, like what was?
Well, the torture was because Good Stab went after him.
Right.
Like so they fought, and he's like, "Yeah, fuck this guy. I'm gonna fuck with you." So he fucked him up to the point where he couldn't take care of himself, and then trapped him so he could torture him.
And he was like, came in every once in a while and fed him, and it was just like horrid. But I mean, was it just punishment, or was he trying to make a point of like, I am the master, you are the servant, we can work together? But because when he did confront him, when he finally escaped, the dude he's like, I'm gonna fucking kill you. Like, you're going to die. It's just a matter of how and when. Like, he left Good Stab no real choice.
Right. Yeah, I think it was just pure torture just to fuck with him. I mean, the dude's like 500-600 years old, gets bored, just gonna fuck with him. Because like Good Stab wasn't turned into a cat person intentionally. Like, it was pure fucking accident. Because like him and his homies got fucked up, and then Catman got fucked up and thrown on top of the pile of bodies that was gonna get burned, and a little bit of blood came out of the cat person into Good Stab's mouth, and ipso facto turned it into a vampire.
Yeah.
So it was not intentional, like, a la Louis and Lestat.
Right.
Like, this was just pure fucking accident. So it's like,
I loved it when the
wants him dead, but not enough to actually kill him. Just kind of wants to fuck with him.
Yeah. I mean, you figure you must develop a sadistic streak if you've been alive for 700 years, Like, and there's a line in it that really, really just pulled me in when he was like, I've been around for like 500 years, and I have exterminated entire cultures, or like entire villages, or entire groups of people, or something like that. You mean nothing. Like, he's just like, no, I've done this since time immemorial, as far as you're concerned, and there are entire cultures that I have wiped out that don't exist. How dare you even step to me? Like, I was just like, this is terrifying. Like, and then I was like, what are these other cultures? I want to know.
Yeah, that is the hard part about this book, because it gives you stories that you really just like, I want to know that shit. Like, the good thing with this book is if you get certain editions, it does come with an expanded version. So it's got like extra stories from different stories. Like, me personally, I got the one from Barnes and Noble. Trying to remember. Sorry, give me 2 seconds. So, yeah, basically it's from the Lieutenant General of the U.S. Army. Like, there's a expanded story on that.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I mean, you get little snippets like that, but it's like you want so much more. Like, I want to live in this era. I want to know all the stories, not just this one.
Yeah, I mean, just this sort of 19th century era of the West was, I mean, it was filled with just pure horror, but it is an interesting time to revisit. I mean, we have whole Western sections of book and movie stores, whole series just focused on this one era, because there's something, as horrific as it was, something romantic about it, because there's something pure and wild and exciting about the era, as much as it is scary and traumatic. If you happen to live in that time. Yeah. Almost no matter who you were, you had to deal with some horrible shit. Some got it much worse than others, but everyone had it bad.
Yeah, everybody was pretty much fucked.
Yeah. And so, like, stories like this set in this era, and that's, I think, also part of the strength of the author. He's bringing up some real world situations and weaving this fantastical narrative through them, which adds a sense of not only desire to sort of revisit history, but also, finding these characters in these historical times and sort of living vicariously through them, through their experiences in these times. And it's just interesting and it's fun, I mean, it's the
Yeah.
wild fucking West, man. It doesn't get much better than that. I don't
Pretty
know.
much. It's always funny to me because I inherently I was always very, very against Westerns. Go figure, Indian, you don't like Westerns. Yeah, which is ironic
Yeah.
because all my family, they're obsessed with Westerns and they're all fucking basically Hicks. But it's not until I started reading Westerns that I actually got it. Like, oh, okay, this makes sense. Like, of course, in a lot of cases, Indians are the bad guys because, how dare us want our fucking land and to, live in peace. But yeah, like you said, it's a very romantic era. It's all about, freedom and openness, like just not being bound to anything. And yeah, this is just a great example of that. Like you can feel the plains, you can feel the mountains, you can feel just the open prairies. Like it's fucking amazing.
Yeah, when he's talking about going up into the mountains and just dwelling there, and then he runs across random people and has these random exchanges with these people, and some of them know of him because of tales passed on and stuff. I mean, I'm actually talking myself into like enjoying it infinitely more than when I was
All right,
listening to it because
so
it is really fun.
let me put it to you this way. I liked this a lot more the second time I read it. The first time it was cool. It was fun. I enjoyed it, but I was like, eh. The second time around, it's like, all right, this is a good fucking book.
Yeah.
So it's worth a revisit, especially if you listen to it fast like me. Like everything I listen to is at 1.7. So instead of it being like 12 hours, it's like fucking 7 or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, I might have to revisit this again because it is, reflecting on it, it's infinitely more interesting, and it does have some real original ideas in it. Let's talk about how he like defeats his tormentor, I guess, the Catman. I thought that was so brilliant. He's like, I mean, first of all, they have a brutal ass bloody fight.
Oh man, and the fucking this motherfucker deserved the torture and the outcome that he got. So let's step back a little bit before this final battle. So good stab, takes no scalp, like whatever you want to call him, because at this point, that's what his people know him as, is not good stab. It's takes no scalp because he kills motherfuckers, but he doesn't take their shit.
Yeah.
He comes across some buffalo calves after he wipes out a camp of buffalo hunters, and he takes care of them. He's like, cool, you guys aren't scared of me. I need family. I need to feel whole again. This is the closest I'm going to get to feeling like, a proper Blackfeet man. And we live alongside these buffalo for a hot minute, and he's got one that he's really fond of, Weasel Plume. It's an albino buffalo, and his fucking, I guess, creator is just like, I'm gonna be an asshole. I'm gonna fucking kill all these guys for no good reason. And he decapitates Weasel Plume, which is the final fucking straw. And fucking good stab just like beats the fuck out of him after getting his ass kicked, and then kills him. Well, tries to kill him with Weasel Plume's skull. And it's like, yeah, that's good. That's good cosmic justice. Like, fuck that guy for fucking up your kid.
Yeah. I loved it when he finally defeated him so he could start feeding him in return, and he started feeding him fish.
Yeah.
It was just
that was the best.
So this thing is still out there somewhere, swimming.
Yeah, potentially it is there, and he even goes to explain, like, yes, I made him, I think it was like silverfish or something like that, like nothing massive, bottom feeder essentially. And he's like, there's other things that these could potentially eat, but if he eats those, he's only going to get worse and worse, and he's going to lose all humanity. So yeah, like, theoretically, Catman is still in a fucking lake somewhere being a vampire fish,
Just so
which is goofy as fuck on
brutal.
paper until you read it in the context. Then it's like, yeah, that's fucked up.
It's so messed up. Because it, like, do you just lose yourself after a while? Like, you just become that thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's like, you still have a certain level of your humanity there because, like, your consciousness is still your consciousness, but you lose a little bit more as you turn into that creature. Like, which, you know, he explains with not being able to hear as well, see as well, when he starts to become Pecunny. And then Catman, you can tell what he was living off of because that's what he becomes. And then there's, I'm trying to remember, did he become deer or was that Good Stab? One of them became deer, like part deer. So like the eyes were starting to separate.
Stab, I think.
Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah, that's right. That's
been a couple
that was
weeks.
after his dad. Yeah. It's been like, yeah, I think like 2 weeks since I read it too. But yeah, so like they even start to take on like the mentality of them. So like the skittishness, the just, you know, the flight, as it were. So yeah, good stuff.
It's fascinating. So I mean, ultimately, the narrative of the story is drawn so that Arthur Bocarn does something horrible with a bunch of other soldiers that come across the West in the Maria's Massacre of 1870, right? And so Good Stab, or Takes No Scalp, ends up hunting him down for having done that, and wants to punish him for it. And so we're led to believe when the diary ends that Etsy is reading that Good Stab caught up with him, met him, and then killed him. Like, that's the presumption. And then Etsy realizes she doesn't really have enough to make a good story, and she doesn't really feel good about doing the story because of her great-great-grandfather's actions. And so she's just like sort of done with it for a moment, and then she gets a visitor. She sees in the distance almost. And it's Good Stab visiting her, knowing it's the great-great-granddaughter of Arthur. And so she has to come to terms with, this is not a story. This is real fucking life. And he's right here. Like, this is real life, man. And
his plan is to wipe out that line because ultimately that's what Arthur Bocarn did, was he killed Good Stab's wife and children.
Yeah. Wiped out the entire, well, I mean, his entire tribe, right? Like, it was everyone, right?
Yeah, because it was basically the only ones that survived were the people that were on the hunt. So like his dad, his homies that ended up dying with him. Like it was a small part of the tribe that got wiped out, but it was everybody that mattered to him, basically.
Yeah. And then we realize, and so she's basically like, I got to get the fuck out of here. Like I cannot be here. And she goes off into, you know, sort of hopping around different like motels. And then ultimately she like wanders off into the wilderness as if she's going to like Washington or something. Wyoming. It made me think of The Last of Us when they were traversing the countryside.
Yeah, I could see that. Well, the best part that, you know, you're leaving out is that Good Stab finally confronts her, but leaves her great-great-grandfather with her, which, you know, we find out he's not dead. He got turned, and he has been feeding him fucking prairie dogs this whole time. So she has this giant mutant prairie dog that loves to smoke cigarettes, just crying and wanting to die. And that's why she goes up there, because she's going to leave him where everybody else fell, essentially.
There's some comedy in it. There's some like ridiculous slapsticky, like, what the fuck? Can you know, it's sort of like Howard the Duck or something, you know, just like this weird like mutant creature, and he's like smoking. It almost reminded me of Princess Bride and those big rat men in the forest.
Yeah, 100%. That's not gonna lie, that's exactly what I saw him as when I was reading this. Was the rats of enormous size.
Yeah,
so fucking funny.
So gross and creepy, and then she like realizes it's him, and that must be horrifying as a character. Like, oh my gosh, you kept him alive. Oh, and so she feels obligated to end this whole thing. and takes him up, and then she brutally murders his ass. Like, she was like stabbing him. I mean, she
shot him up with a fucking
shot
nail
him.
gun.
I mean, yeah, with a nail gun. She like pinheaded his ass. It was just fucking crazy. Like, why don't you just, like take a hatchet and end it, like in little pieces, like make little like chum. I don't know, feed it to the other creature. No, then it'll come back. The Catman.
Well, that was the hard part. Is it's like, how do you kill something that you can't kill?
Yeah,
because it's it's hard to fucking kill them.
It's so funny.
But
brutal.
Yeah, she ends up doing it. And the whole smoking thing, like, so that's you learn earlier on in the story that is one thing that will just decimate these creatures. Is like if they inhale tobacco smoke, it puts them in a coma essentially. Like when Goodstab hangs out with his pops, his dad's like, "Hey, take a hit off this pipe," and he does, and his dad ends up having to take the pipe and stab him in the lung so that he can get air, because it's like everything's closed off. So that's part of the reason why Grandpa keeps smoking, is because he wants to die, and that's like one of the only ways to sort of cut off like the survival reflex. Yeah, real fucking brutal death.
I mean, the ending of this book I thought was pretty great. I mean, the reveal that the great-great-grandfather was still alive and this giant rodent. The fact that this was all a plan of Goodstab's from the beginning to enact his vengeance for that massacre on this priest and his progeny, as it were. I mean, one hell of an ending. Just really, really great. And
well, and especially to find out that like Goodstab was there when she did it.
Right.
He's like off in the distance watching, and she used Blackfeet sign language, and he's just like, "Fucking A, kid," and then fucks off into the sunset.
Yeah. So, is there a statement about women being the ones to repair the damage?
Oh, 100%. Like
in all of his stories.
Like everything that I have read, like he is very much like, yeah, guys are pieces of shit. Women are the ones that save our asses. Like I think the only series of his that I can think of where that's sort of semi not the case, even though it is the fuck, what is it? The Demon of Angel Lake, whatever the fuck it is. So basically there's it's a trilogy where there's a horror nerd that is convinced she's final girl throughout all three, and she kind of is, kind of isn't. Like she's a piece of shit, but everybody else, like all the women, are fucking great.
Okay. I think it's beautiful. I think it's poetic, and I really I like the first, The Only Good Indians more. I do, after just talking with you about it, I did really enjoy aspects of this novel. And then when they kept going back to Takes No Scalp and Goodstab's story, I was really invested then. Less so with the priest and even less so with the woman until the very end, which makes sense because that was intentional, until this story could fully unfold. So I don't know. I'm sitting here thinking, could it have been told in a way that was less derivative that would have made me enjoy it more? And I can't come up with a quick solution to that. So,
yeah, it's the problem of just like, the Joseph Campbell shit, like the hero's journey.
Yeah.
Like there's a reason everybody does that, because that is perfection. So I mean, telling a fucking vampire story, who do you go after? The greats, fucking Stoker, Rice, Stephen King. Like you go after that kind of shit because that is perfection, and you can't change that. You can't do better. I mean, I'm sure somebody will come along better than that, and I fucking hope so. But like, if you just want a good entry point, you mimic stuff like that, because ultimately they mimicked stuff like that. Like all stories are derivatives of somebody else and their influences. So I think that made this accessible, in a sense that it might not have to. I don't know. I just had a fucking brain fart how I was trying to explain this, but whatever. It's fucking good. That's
Yeah, I think people
book
who are
is
not
good.
yeah people who are not necessarily into historical fiction
Mhm.
may not look at this book and be like, I don't really want to read that. That's not really into me, what I'm into. But
Mhm.
you throw in a horror slide. I can't talk at all today. You horror
It's
in
my fault. I'm rubbing off on you.
a horror angle, and then suddenly you're a little bit more interested. And then you
Mhm.
throw in the familiar of the vampire story with massive twists, and then you're in.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, again, like for me, like I am not normally one into westerns.
mhm.
Like so this, if I had never read Stephen Graham Jones before, I would not have necessarily been interested in this unless I heard, oh shit, it's a vampire story. Then whatever, I would have checked it out.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's the greatest thing I can say about it is just it's an easily accessible book
Yeah.
for anybody, regardless of what genre you tend to lean towards.
Yeah, I did see a lot of people complaining about the language that's used in the different periods because it's of the time, and that's immersion to
That's
me. Like I
Yeah,
don't.
exactly. It doesn't bother me in the least. Like I'm reading some books right now, by an author named Tony Hillerman, a white dude that lived in New Mexico and wrote about Navajos. Um, he says he writes a lot of shit that is very much of the time. A lot of racial terms, we'll say, so we don't get flagged. It doesn't bother me, like at all, because it's like that's how people talk. Like the fact that people talk that way bothers me,
Mhm.
not the fact that he is staying true to how people would talk.
Yeah,
So like
I mean that.
I don't know. I've always been able to like separate myself from that shit.
Yeah, I mean if you read Mark Twain or any American
Yeah.
literature,
Right.
like you have to be able to understand. Oh, this is of the time. This is
Mhm.
what they're portraying. My modern sensibilities wouldn't say this, but we understand that they did. So
Yeah.
it's an immersion tactic, and of course, in Twain's time, that wasn't so far removed. It was in it.
No, no.
So,
Yeah.
in any case, what was your favorite part of this novel?
Um, I want to say it was like towards the end of the second act, right before it cuts straight to just Etsy's story, where Arthur really starts to understand what he's fucking dealing with. The fact that he's losing sleep, he's losing his appetite, he's sickly, his parishioners are fucking terrified for him. Um, and just like the ambiance that he builds in the church by himself with that little window up top that fuck, is it open, is it not open, is Good Stab here, is he not, like just the pure terror and dread in that, like I absolutely fucking love that.
Yeah, yeah, that was good. Yeah, for me, it was just following Good Stab around in his experience and the journey and stuff. I thought that was so, the trope, the new light on the new take on vampires. I thought, or the original take is very, very good. Did you have a least favorite part?
No, not really. It's like I said, the first time I read it, I was, I don't want to say underwhelmed, but I guess coming off of everything else that I was reading at the time of his, and then going into that, it was sort of like, oh, I kind of expected more. What, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But again, the second reading, it was like, I don't know what the fuck I was thinking. This was just an all around fun book.
Yeah. Yeah, just having read it the once, it was a little too derivative that first read, but on just talking about it, I'm actually enjoying it much more than that first take because I'm able to appreciate the moments and thought that went into it rather than just my own interpretation while I was reading it and how I was pushed out of it to in the relation aspects of the stories and stuff
Mhm.
and tropes and all. So I don't know. I think it's definitely worth a read. I think
Oh yeah.
if you like either vampire stories, westerns, horror, you should definitely check it out because
Oh
it's
yeah.
well crafted. It's a fun story. It's got some interesting stuff in it, and it has some. It subverts your expectations in a way that is very welcoming, at
Definitely.
least for me. So
Like even if you haven't read it, you finish this episode before you read it, like we gave away key points. It's still like it's going to be just like holy shit, how that happened.
Yeah.
Like
And there's
it's
a
great.
lot in it too that we
There's
didn't
a
even
lot.
touch
Yeah, I
on,
mean, it's
so.
a fucking big ass book. Like
Yeah.
you could knock somebody's ass out with it.
All right. Was there anything else you think we needed to talk about?
No, man, I think we cover that.
All right. Well, thank you all so very much for tuning in. Definitely read the book. As always, like it or not, evil spelled backwards is live. So get out there and be evil.
And read.
Yeah, for sure.
Satan wants you to read.
Hells yes. We would have much fewer dumbasses if people read it.